All right, so welcome back. It's the Game Changer. Today we're doing a drop fade. This is a very dope and interesting tutorial. For one, my guy has very dense and very thick hair. Let me tell you the difference. Density is how much hair you have per square inch. So he has a lot of hair, a lot of hair shafts, right? Now, thickness means that he has the hair shaft itself, the singular shaft, each one is very thick. So that's two things. And also he's getting a 3 on top, which kind of what makes that difficult with this type of haircut is that it's not so much laying down because of the thickness, but it's not long enough to curl. So we'll talk about that as we go along. Now, as you're gonna see, this is gonna be a pretty long clip because I wanna try to get this all off in one piece. Challenging myself to do that so you can enjoy that. As you can see, I started in the center. I wanted to see where all those different growth patterns start. That's a good place to start because now you won't gap that center because you're okay. This part of the hair grows this way, this part of the hair grows this way. And to make sure that he does, so I can't inspect his hair with it being as long for cowlicks. So what I do is you'll see I start with a plastic guard on my magic clip because I have a lever on my magic clip. So I can start with a very wide open 3 and then I can work down to the desired 3 closed. That's why I use the plastic lever. So you can use a detachable guard, but those aren't adjustable. So it's easier if he has a cowlick in the front, the back, or on the sides for me to gap that and kind of scalp it. So I'll use a plastic guard to actually alleviate or mitigate those risks. All right. So you can sit back and watch me have fun with this, and when it's time to cut, I'll cut. But this was dope. I always love doing this. I've been doing this for like the past 7-8 years of my career, just trying to get it off in one stroke. That's what she said. All right, so after I, get it all off, what I'll do is I'll come back to obviously clean those edges up again. His grade of hair texture is amazing, right? I say thickness and density with all the compliments in the world. It just sometimes to get that, with these type of haircuts, what it is that it'll either look really good or really bad because you can do a pretty decent fade on a thicker, dense hair texture and look like a chili bowl. But if you do this fade to the T, right, with the proper technique and the proper amount of fade or light to darkness ratio, it'll look amazing. That's the only thing about this cut. It's either here or there. So now, what I'll do, he's gonna drop fade, so below the occipital bone, what I'll do is I'll start that primary line. It's that bone that's right there in the center of the back of the head, right? It's below the nape, it's above the nape of the neck and below the crown. All right, so I want to get a nice curve. Now, I'll address a few things in case it's your first time watching the video. I like to do a hard line. You see, right? That's me putting the line in with my trimmers or my edges, my Babyliss FX. The reason why I do this is because it gives a nice clean look at the end of the cut. You don't realize how much these little details that you do in the beginning of the cut affect the outlook of the total haircut. All right, so a dry fade is the back side of the fade, as you can see right there, is lower than the side of the fade on the temples. I start to rise up. That's where the term drop fade comes from. A drop fade is just a ball fade. We can argue if you want. I prefer not to. Same thing. It's bald on the bottom, hair on the top, hence ball fade with the drop look. All right. Well, now I'll just do a lot of cleaning. As you can see, so a lot of my steps are repetitious. A lot of repetitive. I'm sorry, they're repetitive. I'll use the edges quite a few times, not to irritate the skin, but to make sure that it's very bald. All right. Now, next step in this multi-step process, right? The 2-line technique, 2-line method. I now have my gold FX clipper, the lever about 2 notches up or halfway, and I'm making the secondary line. Devontae, why, or Game Changer, why do you use 2 lines? Because it creates symmetry and it makes the fade more fluid for the final product, right? So what is a fade? A fade is a transition, a smooth transition from light to dark. So my job is to make sure not to get that transition fast. Just like I'm gonna talk a lot in this video to teach you, I want it to be a detailed, beautifully smooth technique or fade. So hence, I'm doing the secondary, I do 2 lines. I have the primary line, which is the light line you see right there that I'm actually putting in now, right? That's the primary section. The secondary section is the section with the dark hair. Now the primary line is the line that you see me fading to work to get out. The secondary line is the line below the dark hair, if that makes sense. Now, let's talk about some fading techniques. So what I'm actually doing now is I'm taking the primary line out. I don't want to take it away, meaning I'm not going to just take all this hair away. I'm actually fading this hair in. I want it to transition, because if this transition, the fade from light to dark will transition smoothly. Here I'm doing the reverse tiger claw method, where I'm actually reversing, putting the blade of the clipper on flat on the skin, and I'm kind of rotating up with my clipper. Now, look at my hand placement as I fade. Look at the, you can't tell, but I'm very light on the clipper. And the rotation is more on my wrist, not in my fingers, okay? And not in my elbow or my shoulder. I'm flicking the wrist. Look at the flick of the wrist. All right, remember that rap song? Okay, never mind. All right, so light strokes as well, right? These are very high quality clippers, so I don't have to be aggressive. Now, because if I press hard on his skin, I can irritate the skin. And another thing, I can also create another line, which makes my job more difficult. Now, look, I'm giving a lot of tips at one time. It's okay to rewind the video. When I watch tutorials on how to do woodwork and all kinds of stuff like that, I'm not mad at the instructor for giving me a lot at one time. I just rewind, because I'm giving game, free game, great game, all right? And all I ask you in return is that you subscribe. How hard is that, right? Now, as you can see also, back to the work, I don't ever use a brush. My last 15, 20 videos, you haven't seen me use a brush when I'm fading, because the brush actually clumps the hair together, whereas the comb actually spaces the hair. And I need the hair and the spacing that it grows so that I can get a nice clean look. So I can get the hair to lay how I need to with a comb. What I would advise you to do is every few strokes, comb the hair back into its place, because with the clippers, it can make the hair actually deviate from its growth pattern. So I want to comb it back like that to get it back right. Okay? So after I get this primary section nice and faded, I take my time. I'm looking for little marks here and there. And remember, at the end of the cut, you're going to find things that you missed when you're doing this primary work. So after I get this section nice and smooth and clean it up, I'll come back and do the secondary section. Well, when you look at that, I'm back before you know it. So now what I do, now this is the debulking part. Very, very important part to get a very nice, smooth fade. And I'm talking about smooth fade on the cut, which is the fade. I'm taking a 2 first. Debulking is when you start from a larger guard and work your way down to thin the hair out that you're going to fade in the darker sections. Because can I take my 1 right now and just start the fade? Yes, I can. But then I can run the risk of bulkiness or having an inconsistent fade. Like, just trust the process. Trust what I'm telling you. So I'm starting with a 2 in my comb, and my magic clip. And what I'm doing is I'm going up into that thicker region of hair, and I'm just debulking. I'm thinning it out. So that way, when it's actually time for me to work this area out, it'll be easy. You thin it when you thin paint, right? You use a paint thinner. Blood thinners if your blood is too thick, right? For blood clots. Like, it's just the science of it. Same thing with hair. Why try to blend the section that's too thick when I could just thin that area? A slogan that I always say is, the lighter the area, the easier to fade. Okay? Remember that. The lighter my workspace, meaning the less dense my workspace, the easier it is for me to transition this into a nice smooth fade. So I use the 2 guard. I went a little hard with that 2, I open 2. Then I come with the 1.5 is what you see now. And I'll just debulk that and I'll work down. Each time I'll go about 1 inch or so lower than what I did with the first guard. And then you can also debulk with the grain as well. So after I work this 1.5, then I'll come with the 1. Then I'll come with my gold FX and I'll blend these things together. Smooth. smooth. All right, so you guys watch, guys and ladies. Ladies, if you're watching, thank you so much. Fellas, I appreciate you as well. I'll be back soon. All right, so something that I would like to point out, the surface of the head, right? Like not all surfaces are smooth. Some heads have indentions, all cranial structures are not the same. So you have to watch for that. Now, if you run into a denser section of head, right, that hair is gonna look thicker there because the head sinks in, which gives a shadow effect. Just use the corner of your clippers to kind of work that out. And as you can see, he has a looser scalp, meaning his skin is not very tight on his head, on the cranium. So what I do is I stretch the skin for two reasons: to create a tighter workspace, a tighter skin workspace, and for a larger workspace. So he's gonna dry fade in thicker hair, which can be so difficult because the top is so long, but you still have to get a smooth transition of the fade. You create a larger workspace in that small area by stretching the skin to get a nice tight look on that fade. All right, I really hope that helped. If there's some things that I'm missing, that, you know, some little details or nuances that you might see me doing that you might have questions with, leave them in the comments and I'll try to address them in the comments on my next video. All right, we just kumbaya. Who did I get that from? Who said that? We're just gonna have a kumbaya in the comment section. All right, see y'all soon. All right, so this is the part of the video where I was telling you about come with the gold FX to kind of see how I thin those areas out, see how I thin that secondary line out. Now I just gotta take the clippers and do the easy work, right? Use the wrist, thumb placement on top, flick the wrist, all right? And I'm just blending this section together. It's gonna be smooth, okay? I just want to come tell you all that, and I'll see you when it's time for the edge up. I got a few tips and tricks for you on the edge up so that we can knock that thing out nice and smooth and purdy. Ain't that how y'all, you know, Southerners talk purdy? It's funny because I'm in the South. I'm not from the South, but yeah, I'm just talking. All right, see you soon. All right, so a few things. What I'm gonna do is there's a few spots I'm gonna come back and debulk to try to blend together. After I'm done with the fade, I also, another trick, look for areas that you missed once you're done with the fade. This is just the primary fade. After I do that, I come with a warm rag that I'll put on his scalp to swell the cuticles, to soften those cuticles up, which makes it easier to manipulate the hair, so that way I can lay his hair down. It's been so long. And yes, that's all. So when you see the rag on his hair, it's a warm rag. It's sitting for about 15, 20, 30 seconds. You decide, swell the cuticles up. Then it's time for the edge up in 3, 2, 1. I was off. Now, here we go. All right. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking the one that he has a cowlick right in the middle. And I noticed it, so we good. But always first watch for that. And now I'm debulking the edge up because, as you know, if you're a barber, it's very difficult to edge the front edge when that hair is so long because it curls over. And his hairline kind of recedes on one side. I'm watching for that too. And I'm just doing the tiger claw method to lay just the tiniest of edges down. So when I get that edge up, it'll blend in with the hair, but it'll also lay flat to where when he washes his hair, the edge up will still be there nice and neat. All right. Then I usually come with the razor first, but a lot of people like seeing me use the clippers. So I'll oblige. And I'm just watching where his hair, I'm looking for where the hair grows thickest, but also keeping the edge up nice and natural. Hit little areas that might be light to give it a nice, smooth, even look. And that's kind of what we're doing. I'll come with my straight razor blade on the curves because I like bendable blades. They kind of curve. And it helps give that arch look on the edge up. Right now I'm watching for cowlicks. He has a cowlick, his hair grows. Oh, see, same thing. I'm just hitting the hairs that grow over so that way it'll give it a nice, clean look. Hasn't had an edge up in a while. I comb the hair for. I even use a comb on the edge up to get those hairs to lay in the proper positioning. All right, and yeah, that's what I do. See y'all in a little bit. Comb the hair down. Remember to comb as you edge up. All right, so let's give him a nice smooth curve on the edge up. Give some depth to the fade, make it look nice and smooth while working to keep the edge up as natural as possible. Then I come back with my edges after I use my razors. Well, I use my razor on the rest of the edge up, then I come back, as you can see, just hit those little baby hairs so that way the haircut kind of glows. The edges are good, but it's nothing like the razor, to be honest with you. Then I come back with the edges again and get the hairs to hang over the edge up. Then I move to the scissors. to get so we can make that little mini fro look nice and neat. It's all about the small details at the end of the cut. Come against the grain to get the little fuzzies, little pricklies off. All right, so I really hope you all enjoyed the tutorial. You can please stick around for the finish up clips and see how he came in versus how he left out. Oh, forgot this tip. Use the razor on the base or the very base of this fade. Come back with your edges to get that line out, and it'll give the illusion that that's a bald, that fade was done with a razor all the way around. All right. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you stick around. I'm not gonna give, man. I'm gonna give it to you now. Hope you enjoyed. I'm just talking. To be honest with you, I don't even know what to say at this point. I would delete this and start over, but I'm not. I'm hitting it with the scissors, working in space. I hope you all enjoyed. Stick around for the next video. Game Changer out.